early music gets, very, very Mozart-like, Beethoven-like. He's clearly being influenced by the contemporary music of his day. But eventually he gets to the point where he ends up writing significant music of his own that everyone still listens to today, even if you're Jewish, which is kind of interesting. And I mention that because he's very anti-Semitic, actually. But the music dramas it's kind of like the rock. He's like a rock star of the day, and his operas are kind of like George Lucas's Star Wars. When it came out, it was like everybody liked it. His operas even had his own theater. He made his own theater in Bayreuth, where they still have Wagner festivals every year. The Bayreuth. I'll go to it. So he built this. It's designed for his operas. It had lots of special effect kind of things. The stage would spin around so that the scene changes could happen. Of course, he's got flying horses. He's got dragons. All kinds of things, including noises accompanying the music. Siegfried forging his sword, banging on the anvil in tune with the music. Sure, I didn't play some of that already. In any case, the main theme of his most important series of works, the Ring Cycle, is based on a magic ring. Everybody's kind of familiar with magic rings, I imagine. Lord of the Rings, for one, but also the Ring of Gyges, which we talked about in Plato, right? The Republic was one of the examples of why the interest of the stronger doesn't really work. So this ring is made by a dwarf who, by the way, is characterized as typical Jewish in the German view at the time. And this dwarf basically is just totally focused on gold and money, and gives up love for the gold and steals the gold from the Rhine. So the Rhine River is the Rhine River because of the Rhine gold, pure gold that's in the Rhine River. Rhine means clean or pure, right? Reine Vernunft, the pure reason, right? And so he steals the gold from the Rhine maidens, which are kind of like mermaids, and with this magic gold, he makes a magic ring of power and some other things, Tarnhelm, which makes him invisible, and so on. And he uses this to rule the dwarves. Well, the gods have heard about this ring, and Wotan wants it. And so he goes, and he and Loge, the god of fire, logic, outsmart Alberich, who's the dwarf, and steals the ring and the rest of his gold. And Alberich is furious, and so he curses the ring. So if you find a ring of power, don't put it on. Everybody knows that now, right? It's bad not to do. So in any case, of course, Wotan puts the damn thing on, and so he's cursed now. And so Wotan wants to do all these things, but this curse is behind everything he does, and so fate constantly screws up every step of his attempt to do whatever he wants to do. This is exactly Schopenhauer's point, that the will, karma, is going to screw you up no matter what you try to do, no matter what your good intentions are. Life is going to suck no matter what. And that's Schopenhauer. Very depressing. Inspiring for Wagner. Made all these great operas, which, the gods end up being destroyed. The last of the four operas is Die Götterdämmerung, or the twilight of the gods, right? And so the gods are destroyed at the end, and it becomes an age of men after that, you know. So that's similar to the Lord of the Rings. You know, once all that fighting is over, the elves and the others all leave, and it's now, you know, the men are in charge of the earth, you know, kind of new age, you know, similar kinds of things. So many of these old narratives. In any case, Nietzsche turns out to love Wagner. So you end up with Nietzsche and Wagner having a relationship, and Nietzsche thinks of Wagner as this Übermensch in the art world. He's the one who's going to create this totally magnificent art in opera, and he's 100% behind him. And he goes to the first performance in the Bayreuth Theater, where he watches Das Rheingold, which is the first one where Albrecht steals the gold. And what Nietzsche discovers is that Wagner is not an Übermensch as far as he's concerned. He's instead one of the herd. It's just that he's doing his best with his art in order to appeal to the elite of the time. He's not a unique Übermensch that's trying to create a whole new world, a whole new meaning. Instead, he's meekly following along with what the times is requiring of him. So he's not a golden example for Nietzsche, and Nietzsche turns away in horror and no longer considers Wagner to be his hero. By the way, Wagner thanked Schopenhauer for the ideas and dedicated the script, the writing of the opera to Schopenhauer. Fortunately, he never got Schopenhauer's response because Schopenhauer hated it, criticized it. I believe they had actually red pen because he took a pen to it and he said, "This is awful, this is awful, this is awful." But by the time it got back to the Wagner family, Richard Wagner had died, and Cosima, his wife at the time, he had more than one, a sequence. Right? She was glad that Wagner didn't actually ever see what Schopenhauer thought, because that would have decimated him, his philosophical hero, right? So, back to Nietzsche. Even before he's published anything, he becomes a professor and is teaching primarily ancient languages, the study of ancient languages. And part of that fits right into his Apollonian and Dionysian forces, his belief about the Christian morality as a master-slave morality. And remember, we've actually got quite a few people being very critical of Christianity. Remember, Marx was a friend of Feuerbach, right? Feuerbach, Stream on Fire, who is arguing about the essence of Christianity and saying that it's to believe that there's this abstract entity that has all the good things that humans like to think of as themselves, but it's actually just an abstraction, and we apply that to this abstract entity that doesn't actually exist, and as a result we feel really bad about ourselves. And Feuerbach wants to flip that and build a religion of humanism, worshiping our own ability and so on. And Marx kind of picks up on that too. But so this kind of traditional view of Christianity is being criticized by lots of different academics, and Nietzsche certainly picks up on that and is very critical of Christianity and thinks that it's a slave religion. The whole goal of Christianity is to make the weak better off. Instead of worshiping the strong and dynamic and creative humans, it instead tells everybody that we should worship humanity in general and do the best we can for the poor, the weak, right? Level out everything, instead of, worshiping the great stuff. Notice Wagner, if you go to Germany, I think if it's called Niederwald. Is this the right one? Oh, that's not it. Maybe it is. Actually, I think there's another one. Here it is, Valhalla. So actually, Valhalla is one of the things in Wagner's operas. Valhalla is heaven for the warriors, and so the Valkyries, Valhalla Valkyries are these maidens that you see, traditionally, with the big breastplate and the winged helmet and the spear and the shield and riding on their horses. These are daughters of Wotan that he had with Erda, the earth, and their job is to ride around the battle scenes and pick up all the dead heroes and take them to Valhalla. That's their job. So if you see one, not a good thing, right? Because they're only coming to pick you up to take you. That means you're dead, right? So normally it's not a good thing to see Valkyrie. But here the Germans have a temple to their German heroes. As you can see, it's accessible from the river. It's a great tourist place. If you're inside, you can see they have a bust of everybody that they think of as a German hero. And in fact, there's a lot of people that feel like, hey, where's my bust? Aren't I a German hero? I think Goethe, for example, is not in there. And that's pretty odd, because most people would have thought Goethe would have been such an example. But so that's a neat place if you ever get the chance. Christian morality, on the other hand, kind of honors the poor, love the poor, the children, and the church. Even today, I know a lot of people think of the church as just filthy rich, but actually, that's the decoration of the churches certainly makes it a wealthy organization, but their goal is really to help other people. Generally, I'm sure there's plenty of corruption, but you get the idea. If you listen to the Pope, at least, his concern is with all the poor people and so on. Nietzsche thought that was a terrible ideology. It worships weakness. And plus, he points out that God is dead. This is actually not news if you're Lutheran. Martin Luther famously says, God is dead, we have killed him. And Nietzsche is really just quoting Martin Luther in saying that. And what Martin Luther, of course, is talking about is Jesus has died on the cross for our sins. So the reason God is dead is because we have been sinful, fallen individuals, and as a result, Jesus sacrificed his life to rescue us. God is dead. Nietzsche argues that God is dead in a different way.